And welcome back. Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We're now moving into our final segment for the morning, and we have representatives in from the National Garifuna Council. As a matter of fact, we have Sandra Miranda, who is the president of the National Garifuna Council, and Andrew Castillo, who is the vice president of the National Garifuna Council. Guys, good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, Marlene. Good morning, John. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. We're doing excellent, actually.
Good morning, John, and good morning, Marlene.
Good morning, Miss Sandra.
Been happy how soon Garina leader Obo.
We've been happy. We've been happy.
How to my wani go Indura again. Lole has to grow big. Beat been happy.
You know, I'm so glad that you went there. She did mention Honduras, and that's exactly where we'd like to start. We've heard over the last week of the situation that's going on there in various villages in that particular country. Of course, very dear to us because they're Garifuna people, and we are as well. So let's venture off there as to what you guys have been hearing about the situation and what can be done from our standpoint.
All right, well, John, this started with us getting a message from our sister organization in Honduras, ODECO, and who made us aware that the kidnapping happened in Trinidad de la Cruz, where these 5 young men were taken from their home at about 3 a.m. Saturday morning.
5 Garifuna young men.
5 are fully Garifuna, and 1 is a Hispanic guy, but who lives in the community and identifies with Garifuna. I am not sure if 1 parent is Garifuna, because you know the mixture in Honduras, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, but he lives in Trinidad, that everybody know as Trump, right? And so incidentally, we were having a meeting, an NGC meeting virtually at the time that message came in. So I shared, and all those who were in that meeting are aware of the situation. Now, we cannot really leave this for Honduras alone. It has been an ongoing struggle for Garifuna in Honduras. Earlier this year, a young man was killed, Edwin Fernandez. He was a relief worker at a COVID center. But on the other side, he was also a defender of Garifuna land rights. 1 week before this kidnapping, another guy, Antonio, was killed in Punta Piedra. And Punta Piedra is also a Garifuna community that Ofrane went to court and he took to the International Central American Human Rights Commission of Human Rights. They won the case, and so Punta Piedra was supposed to remain a Garifuna community.
Yes.
But the government in Honduras have not honored these cases, and it was the same thing with Trinidad. They took the case of Trinidad de la Cruz to court and won. But instead of the government actually honoring the results of these cases, they are trying to push these people out of their homeland and taking it to this great level of, killing our people.
Yeah. Sandra, I'm glad that you went there, because for many people they're only just becoming aware of the situation, and I know very often when we speak of Garifuna culture, you speak of one culture. It's not about Hondurans, Belizeans, Guatemalans. It's about the Garifuna community that spans this region. So first of all, I definitely want to echo the concern that you've been hearing everywhere else, and we really do hope that these men are returned safely. But help us understand the context. You said that this is essentially about a land dispute, a land development, where the land that this Garifuna community lives on has been proven in court to be theirs, and we're going back to indigenous land rights here, but the government wants to use it for another purpose. Is that the core of the issue behind the kidnapping?
Well, the core of the issue is that the government keeps they sell these lands for tourism purposes.
Yeah.
And it's normally to foreigners.
Yeah.
And these people are very aggressive that they will do anything what they can to get these lands. You have to remember, go back to history, from Rotan when we went into Honduras and even in Belize, we settled along the coast. At that time, the coast meant nothing to them. I think we were put there deliberately because when the storms come in, it hits the coast. So, one of the plots.
Yeah.
But now it's tourism and it's money. So now they want to go back inland so that tourism can fortify along the coast.
Yeah.
And it's not too far from Belize, because in Belize, what we do, like look at a village, I'm sorry, Mick, but look at a village like Hopkins.
Yeah.
The people sell the land along the coast and they move backward. So it's almost, and who have the lands along the coast? Again, it's for tourism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in Honduras, they are not asked to sell, they are asked to move. And where would they go? They aren't even relocated. And I think they will fight to stay where they are. Because in Honduras, they're still mainly fishermen and farmers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
And,
So we can't allow them to fight their case. If you notice, all the Garifuna activists are targets in Honduras for the Honduran government.
in
So
fact,
we
the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights has noted that at least 5 Garifuna leaders have been killed in Honduras since September 2019. It's a hard reality for us to understand how things are very different in other countries. Being a human rights defender can be one of the most dangerous jobs that you can have, just promoting the rights of your people. So there was actually a murder that had happened earlier this year that was before the kidnapping. So this is a really alarming situation.
It's 2 murders that happened before the kidnapping, because the murder of Edwin Fernandez was in May 2020, and the murder of Antonio is a week before the kidnapping.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And the details of the case, one of the things that the reports say is that there are witnesses. The people were in the community when these men were abducted. And they report that the persons who abducted them were in fact in uniform.
Yes. Yes. Well, I leave Mick to say something.
Yeah.
So, Mick?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
morning.
Yeah. So there is a historical perspective to this, right? Brief history, we got to Honduras in April 12, 1797. And it has always been a struggle. The Garifuna people in Honduras, and not only Honduras, but along the area that we call territorial Fin. That includes Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, Belize. These people have always been marginalized, right? It always seemed as if the lives of the Garifuna people was less than that of the regular person, right? So there has been ample evidence that the Honduran government, one, is complicit in these acts that are being executed against these Garifuna people, and 2, they expend less energy to try and find some solution to this situation.
Yeah.
Right? I think it was in 1932, there was a massacre in San Juan. And that's one of the reasons why we have a number of people here in Hopkins whose roots are in San Juan. That massacre forced these people to migrate from Honduras to Belize.
Wow.
So it's a follow-up of the previous expulsion from St. Vincent.
Yeah.
Right? And there have been a series of actions taken against these people. No, it's because, as Madam President described, the land developers covet the beaches where these people live. And even after the courts have declared on behalf of the indigenous people, the courts just don't care, because it serves the needs of the capitalists. These people come from the United States, from Canada. They bring oodles and oodles of money.
Yeah.
So they can use those monies to buy their way into the system.
Yeah.
And that may sound familiar because there's a similar situation in Belize. there have been people here in Belize, and I can tell you here in Hopkins, who have been forcibly removed from their lands.
Wow.
This is land that they own. They have title for this stuff here.
Yeah.
And they have been forcibly removed. Why? To satisfy the need of the people who have this money. You know? And of course, as Madam President said, some of us have sold our lands also because we see this little money. To us, it is significant. So that kind of a thing. Go ahead.
NGC Belize has definitely condemned. We've seen letters. We've seen the letters whereby you guys have condemned the acts of the situation there in Honduras. Have you sent anything across to the Honduran government, and was there any response?
You want to take the time, Madam President? You want me to speak of it? Okay, I think Madam President is frozen. So, this is what we have done. The NGC has made public declarations regarding this situation indeed, but we have also been working behind the scenes because if you notice, the people who are murdered, the common denominator there is OFRANE. OFRANE is the Honduran Black Fraternal Organization, and they fight for the defense of the rights of the Garifuna people.
Yes.
So OFRANE it has to be the lead on it because they're the ones whose leaders have been decimated. So what we have done, again, behind the scenes, is send letters, communications to a variety of organizations, human rights watch, United Nations Security Council, United Nations Human Rights Commission, a series of names. I can't even remember, because I would tack on to the acronyms of these organizations. But what I would want to do is read out the names of those particular organizations. But that is what we have been doing. Yeah. Not only NGC as an organization, but individual NGC executives have been reaching out to these people behind the scenes. Because again, OFRANE has to be the people who are leaders of this activity.
Do we know if those who are kidnapped, do we know if they're alive or what's the situation there?
So there is no news forthcoming out of Honduras. None whatsoever. You know, the only story that keeps playing in the loop is that these people have been kidnapped, and that's it. Yeah. There was one occasion where there was a suspicion that this guy who was arrested was a part of the kidnapping crew, but it has not been definitively clarified as of yet.
Yeah. Now, yesterday we saw the joint statement from former foreign ministers in Belize to the government, asking for the government to put on record their concern about what has taken place in Honduras. Tell me a bit about how that makes you feel that you are now seeing some of our leaders speaking out on the issue.
That is encouraging. Because these people were foreign ministers for the country of Belize. So that means they have some international exposure, they have some international networking, right? And so they have been out there speaking on behalf of Belize when they were in that capacity. So that increases the level of pressure that will be coming on to the government of Honduras to try and find some resolution to this situation. No, I wish that the former foreign ministers who served in this current government would be a party to this, right? But let's wait and see, if they will eventually be a part of it, because I'm certain we have some former foreign ministers who are still alive from the current government party.
What is the expectation of NGC to Belize's current government? What do you guys expect from our government to do?
So our expectation is that they denounce this situation. In other words, communicate to the government of Honduras. And we're not only looking at the government of Belize. Us as NGC are here in Belize. But we want to call on every single Central American country, and then all of the Americas for that matter. Now, inclusive of the other organizations like the European Union and that kind of stuff, right? But I think we should start from home. Home is the Americas. that every single government would denounce this
Yeah.
and make sure that these people in the Garifuna communities get. There's an ILO 169 from the United Nations that declares the rights of the indigenous people. So we want the governments of all these countries to tell the Honduran government, like, some resolution has to take place. Be bringing these people back alive, or finding, like, how this crime took place, who executed the crime.
Who did it?
Everything.
Yeah. Now, is Sandra still with us? Let's double check. Sandra, are you there?
No, I don't see her.
We lost her. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's so concerning. I think you have contacts all across the region. What do your fellow community members feel at this point, given the fact that there have been murders before? Are they optimistic that these 5 men are still alive?
Because of compassion for these people's families, we have to try to be as optimistic as possible.
Yeah.
Myself, because I have been following the activities in Honduras for a little while, speaking for myself, I am not optimistic. Because the statistics are that we have, I think in 2018, there were 18 murders of Garifuna leaders in Honduras.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, help us understand this. I hate to cut you off. Please just allow me. Because I think that when you say that, just remember that our crime context is a lot different. It's not just a coincidence that the Garifuna leaders are killed. This isn't just like, a gang issue. These are people who would randomly disappear or randomly be found dead. In other words, their deaths are targeted. Can you explain that for us?
Again, one, like, our lives don't seem to matter as much as the regular person. Two, the people in position, they are the one who make decision, right? And there's a line about power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolute, right? This is all about money, materialism. The capitalists, they want to come to these countries and invest their monies, and they will get it done by any means necessary. That is the long and short of this whole situation.
At the start, we did mention as to why these people are actually carrying out these actions for land, because land, especially for the fact that the Garifuna people settled on coastal lands. Honduras now and other countries are actually seeing coastal lands as basically the goal for tourism. Now, you did mention that in 2018 or let's say 2019, there were amount of people between 2019 and now. There are amount of people, leaders, Garifuna leaders, who were captured and murdered or massacred. Now, do you think that the Honduran government have made any stride in terms of getting those lands because they carried out those actions?
I don't remember the details, but there was a time when the Honduran government actually went to court. No, they wrote legislation to deprive these people of these lands, and the Inter-American Human Rights Commission, I think is the name of the organization, stood against the Honduran government and said, no, you can't do that. So they wanted to change laws to suit these capitalists who are coming in to invest in tourism in the lands that these people traditionally occupy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a really sad situation. I spent a very brief time in Tela many years ago. It's a beautiful coastal community, and it's a wonderful experience when you go to another country. You could punta like we would do here in Belize, and because it just shows our oneness. And so my heart goes out to you. Do you know any of the men that have been kidnapped personally? What their story is, their families? Anything that you can share with us?
I should know a couple of these people because I have attended a series of meetings in Honduras and even here in Belize with people from Ofani.
Yeah.
And I've been going through my mind and I just can't target.
They're young.
Exactly who, yeah.
These are young
They're
people.
very
These are
young leaders, yeah.
Yes.
Late 20s. That's the average age that we're seeing at this point. So we are sounding the alarm. I do note that you have had some, that there has been some international coverage as well. What is the hope that you get enough support from around the world that you will see some kind of action within Honduras itself to return these men and return them safely?
Yeah, that is our ultimate hope indeed. And even after that has been done, we will continue to pressure the Honduran government and all the governments where Garifuna people, and then by extension indigenous people live, to ensure that these people are given the right to live in liberty, a right to the lands that they have been occupying for centuries, and that there will be repercussions for anybody and any country that want to deprive these people, especially in the manners that they're using their might. Their might being the ability to write policy and their might, their control of security forces.
Yeah.
Because that is basically what governments do anyway, by virtue of might and by virtue of writing policies to suit their particular ends.
Yeah.
So the
We will not
community,
stop.
the community still firmly believes, and we have to say they believe because we don't have enough proof yet, but they still firmly believe that this was a state-sanctioned kidnapping.
Of course, because again, the historical perspective bears it out.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
It does say here that Garifuna life matters and there's a solidarity message. Do you have a message for your Garifuna, our Garifuna community in terms of jumping on this bandwagon and trying to safeguard our brothers?
So my message to the Garifuna community is we have to be our brothers' keepers. Well, that is misogynistic. So we have to be our brothers and sisters' keepers. We have to live in the communal way that we lived when we were living in St. Vincent. We all looked out for one another.
Yeah.
And every little contribution that you make may be the straw that breaks the camel back.
It's true.
So you don't have to be contributing in a dramatic manner. No. Every single contribution that you make may make the difference. Because it is only in unity that we can create success. And it is in our hands to persist to try and achieve this success. So I implore every single person in our Garifuna communities to stand firm. If you don't have access to the internet or to the websites or whatever the case might be, share it with somebody who has that access so that they can use the word to pass the word around. And I have been doing a number of communications with all these different organizations. And I am encouraging everybody. And as a matter of fact, it is not only a Garifuna problem. It is a problem for every person who lives in any one of these communities that we are engaged in.
Yeah.
Every single person.
Yeah.
So every single person in Belize, every single person in Guatemala, every single person in Honduras, every single person in Nicaragua.
Yeah.
And of course, by extension, every single person in this world. Martin Luther King had a saying that injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere, or something to that effect. So by extension, every single human being on this planet is affected by activities just like this, because it may not be you this day, but tomorrow it may be your turn.
Yeah.
So why not stop it now?
That's right. I finally for me, and I was really reluctant to ask this, but it kept on eating me out as you spoke. We know that Aurelio Martinez was actually a part of Congress there. Have we heard from Aurelio? Have we reached out to Aurelio and to get his perspective on the current situation?
John, I am happy that you mentioned that. I was trying to reach out to Aurelia, but what happened is that he and I were Facebook friends. But I got locked out of my previous Facebook account, so I had to create a new one.
Yeah.
So he is one of the persons indeed, and he's one of the persons who we need to get on board. I am certain he has been on board, just that I have not seen that communique as of yet.
Okay.
But I will try and reach out to him personally and see if I can, have him say something publicly.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Andrew, we appreciate you and Sandra for the brief time that she was with us, being able to have this conversation with us this morning, letting us understand just the gravity of the situation. And we really join you and the wider community in hoping for the absolute best and the safe return of these 5 Garifuna leaders living in Honduras.